Restoring a Mark 1 Golf GTI like I'm about to do is inevitably going to create a lot of dust. Now, whether that's from grinding, sanding, or painting, either way, there's going to be a lot of dust. So I've decided to build my own DIY dust booth cum spray booth. That is it here. So stick around if you'd like to know how much it cost and what it took to put it together. So what I've got here is I've got 2 sheets of plastic. Now this is 1,000 gram stuff. So if you look, you can see it's got a decent bit of strength to it. It's not just going to tear fairly easily. So like I say, I've got 2 lots of it. The bit here is 2 meters by 6 meters. Now that is going to go on the roof. Basically the garage from front to back is about 5.5 meters, so we'll need trimmed down a bit, but I'm going to put the 2 meter one across the roof, which obviously the sort of booth is going to be wider than 2 meters, but the bit I've got to make the wall here is 4 meters by 6 meters. Now obviously it's not 4 meters high, so it's about 2 and a bit meters high, so the excess will just go up and then across the roof to meet the 2 meter, or to overlap with it anyway. So I think I'm going to go with this beam here is the one I'm going to attach the plastic to, so then that'll give us, from that beam across to that wall is a segregated off area. Right, so what I'm going to plan on doing is the plastic, I've cut some strips of wood over there, you see, they're all about 3 centimeters. So my plan is to use them and kind of get the plastic up and then use them strips of wood to attach to the beams, and that should hold the plastic up. And I'm going to hopefully just cut a hole in the plastic, because these lights just clip on. So I'm hoping I can kind of just cut a hole when I get to that point, and then pass the plastic over the light and then clip the light back in place. So it'll keep the lights inside, but it'll be an easy way of getting the plastic across the roof. So that's the plan anyway. So I've no idea how well or how easy this is going to be to do. So we'll just have a go and see what happens. Right, so that is the 2 meter strip up. Obviously you can see just my little lats of wood there. I might stick a couple more, managed to get the lights, took the brackets off and just screwed them back through the plastic as well. I do need to obviously tape up right the way around my conduit. I've put a few bits on that side because there's not really much to attach the plastic to on that side, but I think I'll do a continuous strip all the way along. As you can see a bit better, look there, I've just put a few bits in, but I really need to kind of get it pulled taut and then kind of taped all the way around, so it kind of does seal it up. But that's kind of where we are now. Obviously I start off with the longer bits, but then I just basically half the length, I'm just putting one nail in, not even nailing it all the way in, because this is going to be a temporary thing. But when I say temporary, it's probably going to be up for a while, but it's not kind of going to be up indefinitely. But they seem to be, I might stick like another one in here, I might stick the odd couple more in just to give it a bit more support. But that's where we are now. And then obviously the wall bit is going to come kind of the back of the shelving unit and go up onto that beam there, and then obviously the excess will come across and meet up with that bit. That is the plan anyway. Well, that's the bulk of the work done, and if you can see in the background, we are kind of all enclosed in here. I'll spin you around and give you a proper look at everything. I've still got a few little bits and pieces just to shore up a little bit, but I've got the bulk of it done anyway. So I'll spin you around now and show you what we've got. Right, so obviously this is what kind of wall part to section the rest of the garage off from this dust booth cum spray booth. Just got one of these kind of, it's like a builder's door thing that they put on in your house to stop the dust getting in and out, but it's just obviously got zips on and then a bit of Velcro on the bottom. But I think that'll do the job for what we want. I think I'm going to put a few more of these, like supports along the top of here, just for that being the main one in case it gets knocked and pulled. So I'll put a few more along there. I did start off, I'll show you this side actually. I did start off obviously on this side with the panel on the roof, and I was trying to get the plastic kind of tucked over the top of the steel conduit. But I kind of realised, why don't I just pull it down in front of it and stick it to it? So like you can kind of see I've done there. So I mean, obviously the conduit isn't sealed to the wall, but it is fixed fairly well to the wall, so there'll be that's a slight air gap up the back of it. But I mean, God, I think that should be going to stop most of the dust getting out. I am slightly, obviously the plastic around the back of the lights do get warm when I've kind of pulled them down, but it is obviously, they're never going to be left on when I'm not in here. So I'll just keep a bit of an eye and keep checking the temperature where the plastic goes in behind the light. But other than that, I think we're not doing too bad. Obviously strip the gaffer tape up the middle to join the seam. I've gaffer taped the plastic to the walls here. Don't know how that's gonna, longevity wise, whether it'll last, obviously being stuck to the brickwork. I am not sure, to be honest, but we'll just see how it goes. It seems to be stuck all right there at the minute. And down at the bottom, I've just got a couple of old fence posts that I've just kind of wrapped the plastic round and then nailed on. And I mean, they're not fixed to the floor or anything, but there's a bit of weight in them, so they should kind of stay where they are, I suppose. But I mean, if I do get any problems, I could always put a couple of fixings into the ground, but to be honest, I don't think I will. I mean, that one's tight up against that rack. You can obviously see my shelving unit. And I think, to be honest, what I might do is on the outside of here, I might turn my toolbox round or put something in front of here, so it just kind of segregates it off and just leave the doorway open. But yeah, I think we've had a not so bad day at getting to this point. I'll just get right back in this corner. You can kind of see how much room there is. One of my other concerns is obviously if I'm welding, sparks obviously hitting the plastic are just gonna kind of go through it, to be fair. So I might see if I can get some sort of welding screen, just so if I'm welding at this end, put it up against there, so it's not gonna kind of, sparks aren't gonna burn holes in it. But I think there's enough room in here, obviously to do any of the sort of metal work, cleaning things up as we need to do to start with. And then fast forward, thinking ahead a little bit, when I do come to start painting, I think if I put some wheels on me, well, I suppose it depends which bit we're painting. By the time we're doing painting, we'll probably have it off the rotisserie, so I might have it on some sort of stand so I can wheel it side to side, and then I could kind of paint this side and then wheel it across and then go around the other side and paint the other side basically. So it's tight, but I think it's going to certainly serve a purpose and keep all of my other bits and pieces in the other side of the garage dust free is the plan. So I shall let you know once we've spent a bit of time. The only other thing that obviously I do need to figure out Now, two things. So that is my diesel heater, which obviously this is now a bit of an enclosed section, so I really need to get the intake for that either piped outside or piped up and into the roof, so it's not pulling like oxygen from in here. And the only other thing is a proper ventilation system. Now I have got an idea for a large box with a filter and a fan that would be pulling air into the filter, so catching all the dust, which you'll obviously have to put some sort of intake into here. Obviously if you're sucking air out, you're going to need to let air in as well, but that's something for another day. But yeah, I think I'm fairly happy with the progress we've made today. Just to give you a quick look of what that door looks like from the outside. So I've just got 2 zips down it and then a bit of Velcro on the bottom. So obviously when you're inside, you just zip that shut, and then that's it all segregated off. Before we get to the costs, please give this video a like and consider subscribing to the channel. We've also got plenty of other videos on the channel already, one being the introduction to the Mk1 Golf GTI, which will be linked in the description below. So cost-wise, the plastic for the ceiling and making this side wall here and the door came to £57. Now they were the only bits I had to buy. I had some timber, some wood that I just ripped up into strips to kind of attach it to the roof, and some other, the fence posts that are holding it down, and the tape, the duct tape for sealing everything off. Already had those, so we're looking at £57 to get to this point where we are now. The only other thing I would like to do is come up with some sort of dust extraction. So I'm thinking a kind of a fan, a box and a big filter, which I will probably do a video on that. I've got a kind of shop vac type hoover, which I'll use for kind of, when I'm sanding, you'll be able to connect that direct onto the sander, so that'll catch the majority of the dust, but inevitably there will be dust floating around in the air. So like I say, I'm going to come up with some solution for that. Well, that pretty much wraps up this video for today. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.